and it seems like basically I screwed up my whole flock. Hey guys, welcome to Wild Hope Homestead. It's a new year, the new year's running off with us already, and it's sort of a weird feeling. I feel like I've been feeling a little bit bummed this new year. I think a part of that is because Christmas is over, and Christmas is my favourite time of year. And I guess a part of it is I feel like I haven't quite finished with last year yet. I haven't quite done as much as I wanted to, which is probably always a little bit of a thing. I always like to try and do a few too many things. I guess it's also just the tiredness from all the heat. It's been very hot and humid lately, which is not my favourite time of year. But it has me thinking. Like, I think I'm quite intentional about Christmas, about doing special things that bring us joy and help us focus on the important things. There's all the Christmas music and things as well. We really enjoy doing the Advent Calendar House on December mornings, and the Christmas food and things we make. A lot of it, it's just special things for a special time of year. Things that we only do for Christmas, but it's because I'm quite intentional about what I do and don't do in a busy time, trying to get the garden in as well. I've gotten better and better at making room for things that are important and the things that bring us joy, but there are probably things I need to be more intentional about during the rest of the year in different ways. So I'm having a think about what I could do to make other times of the year feel more special. I mean, it's never going to be like Christmas, but other things I could do at different times of the year to bring us joy in different ways for different events or seasons. So we definitely need to have some sort of New Year's tradition that we could start up to make New Year's something to look forward to. I guess another thing is, which I don't think I'd talked about, is with the chickens, the chicken breeding. It turned out that some of the last rooster, Ben Wyatt's offspring, also had barring or stripes in their feathers, and maybe slightly more than the last rooster. So the problem is obviously not just from one particular hen or rooster. So I had a look at my genetics. I at least keep spreadsheets of the flock pedigrees and things. At least I've kept track of things pretty well, so I can trace back who's related to who and what could be going on. And it seems like basically I screwed up my whole flock, which stinks, but yes, so I can trace it back to two possibilities of where the barring could have come from. One being a hen from, I guess, what I call a first generation hen for us, hatched from an egg from a different breeder. And then the other possible thing was when somebody along the way could have been fathered by a rooster I had who wasn't quite purebred out of my first Australorp hen, Frodo, who turned out to be not quite purebred. And her son was in with the head rooster in the main flock. And even though he was still younger, he could have fathered some of them, and I somehow missed the fact that whichever rooster I chose could possibly have been fathered by him. That was a question mark, and these days I always do a lot of question marks and note them down, but somehow I'd missed the fact that there was a question mark along the way and hadn't done that very well. So it could have been that too. It could have been either of those things. And unfortunately, all the chickens I've got at the moment can be traced back to either of those two in some way or another. So, and it wouldn't have been any use keeping Basil because he would have been affected too. And all of his sons, some of them have shown barring. Tom Haverford, who was the rooster we hatched the first batch from last year, I didn't notice barring in his offspring, which is interesting, but actually most of them were splash or blue coloured. The splash, I don't know if you'd notice the barring unless there happened to be barring on a blue feather. So that would be, extremely difficult to tell if there was any in them. And the blues, it's harder to see barring in them unless it's quite obvious. And the blacks, I'll have to go and have a look at my others out there, but I hadn't noticed any in them. So either they don't have any or they had less of it than the others. So I still can't use any of them for breeding even if they haven't got barring, because it'll definitely pass on at some point, as is what has happened. It would have probably just been a tiny bit of barring or something in the genetics that got a little bit mutated and it's popped up later on. So it's unfortunate, and means I have more chickens to put into the freezer. So in some ways I'm pretty disappointed about that, because nobody wants to screw up their breeding plans. But on the other hand, I'm also actually a little bit relieved to be giving chicken breeding a break, because it's kind of ironic because that was the last season was the last big lot of hatching I was going to do for a while. Just trying to get a lot hatched so that I could pick out the best ones to keep, to get down to a smaller flock of good quality chickens to take with us when we move, was the idea. And I've ended up just hatching out a large bunch of chickens to get into the freezer. But anyway, now if I want to start breeding them again, I'll just have to start again with new stock from other breeders or eggs. And it'd actually be good anyway, because the ones I started off with were not really the best, and I got some from a few different sources, and I didn't really know what I was doing that much back then. Merged them all without really getting the most out of each line or properly keeping track of traits and things. So I have learned a lot, so I'm definitely not sorry about that. I've learned a lot along the way, and will definitely get a better start next time. So what does that mean for now? That means there's a small child who needs to get up. It means the chickens that I've got now, I've still got a lot of youngsters, and I'm basically going to be choosing to keep whichever ones are good at laying, the healthiest, and I suppose good personalities. It doesn't really matter. Mostly good layers and healthy chickens, and for this situation, ones that don't go broody very often, because broodiness is not much use to me in the foreseeable future. So at the moment we have about 16 hens or pullets of laying age, so we're getting a really good supply of eggs, which is very nice, especially since Angus is eating cooking and eating a lot of scrambled egg for lunch now. So that's what I'll be focusing on for the chicken flock this year. Getting the flock down smaller, choosing good functional chickens to keep, and everyone else is going to go in the freezer because I'm not going to pass this problem on to someone else, even if they're not for breeding homes. There's enough poor breeding stock out there, or crossbreds that I've seen out there, from people who are just not quite sure how to keep track of things. I mean, it's easy, very easy to screw things up. So any of the chickens I don't want to keep are just going to be going in the freezer. And at least we'll have a good supply of tasty chicken. So Ben Wyatt has already gone into the freezer, or into broth actually, and we are down to, we've got one cockerel left at the moment, one boy who was one of the blue ones out of Tom Haverford. So he's sticking around for now because he's a nice dude, and I don't really like not having a rooster. He's helping to keep everyone in line, so we'll see, but he's not going to be sticking around in the long term. At the moment I'm just focusing on the ones in the corner of the age now where they can start going into the freezer. So yep, that's the chicken situation, and at least with chicken breeding out of the way, or at least on that sort of a scale, I can focus on other things more, which is going to be good.